Hey guys, this is Colin from Blackjack Apprenticeship, and I'm here with the Phoenix.
The Phoenix. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so we in the last podcast, we talked a bit about your journey. We talked about how you found out about card counting, how you got into it, how you trained, how you kind of went from testing it out, playing a bit, you joined a team, made a little bit of money there, partnered with someone, and then kind of boom, after a conversation with Yoda, aka Joe748, you found out, hey, I think I can do this, and on a little bit of a joint bankroll with JC Note, and you've been killing it. So if you guys didn't hear the last podcast with the Phoenix, check that out. But we're going to dive back into kind of where things have been. So you're still playing, right?
Yeah. In fact, I feel like I have it kind of mapped out, like how things are going to go based off the projections thus far.
Okay.
Of what's happened. I wanted to be done gambling at the end of 2016, but that's like right now, basically, as we're talking to you, and I'm not done with all my goals, but more goals kind of popped up.
Uh-huh.
I think kind of the big unexpected one was
a pet tiger.
Taxes.
Okay.
This pet tiger called taxes.
Yeah. And you probably don't have a lot of dependents to put on your tax return.
No, I don't. You know what's weird is, like, at one of your boot camps, I think the second one, I was like, hey, so what do we got to pay with taxes or whatever? And at the time, you had mentioned this option called the Schedule G, which is basically 6.5% of whatever you make is what you give to the government. And that would be a dream come true.
Yeah. Okay, so I didn't mention that as like this is what you do. Because I know I've never told people this is what you should do. I always say, hey, I'm not an accountant, I'm not a tax professional, but I do know that when we were first playing, we asked what we should do, and with the amount of regularity and that it, I think it was small enough stakes, we were told like, oh yeah, well this isn't a business, so you're going to put it on this thing, and it was like 6.5%. Well, when we were playing more professionally, more full-time, larger scale, that wasn't what we did, and 6.5% would be nice, but a lot of it has to do with the bracket you're in, and it has to do with also, if you got state taxes you're paying and just all that stuff. And you kind of got all of it going on.
Oh my gosh. And apparently the state of California, just tax-wise, is the worst state tax-wise. And
well, it depends how you look at it. You're hooking up the state of California. You're funding hospitals and schools and roads. But for you personally, your bottom line.
Yeah. My bottom line is getting cut into by taxes. But I made a promise to myself that once I passed six figures, that's because honestly, like, good thing I'm just called the Phoenix. So go ahead and try and find the Phoenix. But prior to this, I didn't really report anything.
It was small time.
Because it wasn't really all that much money. But now that I've crossed the six figures, I'm like, okay, I'm going to report this.
And public service announcement: we always tell people pay your taxes. That's between you and the government. But
what's interesting is I guess there's a lot of pros that don't, and that's you're running a bit of a risk doing that. Because now when I'm depositing big figures, like I always get the question now, like, what's your line of work? And I remember for a while I said movie producer, but when I was in LA, because that would kind of make sense for the area, but now it's like professional gambler. So I talked to the tax guy, and I found out that my Schedule G dreams were destroyed.
Okay.
I don't know what. Don't quote. I'm not a tax professional. But I don't know what the amount is, but you can only do Schedule G up to a certain amount of money. Yeah. And I think this is my guess, so this is not a fact, but I think once you pass 10 grand, in a year, you have to either file as a professional or a amateur gambler.
Okay.
And then the people I went to, he said, so this is what we do. Basically, we're going to find out which one's going to be the least amount of money that you have to pay the government. And that's
what you are.
And that's what you are.
Dude, taxes are crazy. When we were running our team, the question was, were the players on our teams, were they employees or were they independent contractors? And it was best for the business if they were independent contractors, but it wasn't a black and white answer. It was like, there's a criteria. There's 12 points of, what makes someone an independent contractor, and, the players met 7 of the 12. And then an employee, there's kind of like this 10 list criteria, and they hit 4, and it was like, well, it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other. And anyway, let your accountant figure that stuff out. So bottom line is, your goal of being done, you're gonna have to play a little more for Uncle Sam.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and just to be honest or whatever, because I want to be an honest business person, and I am debt free, so I can afford Uncle Sam's bill, and I don't want to have to run into like issues like Wesley Snipes or Willie Nelson. Mm-hmm. People that are paying off like eons ago of back taxes and have that haunt me. In a moment where, fiscally, things kind of really get to a good place. Yeah, so I'll do that. And then it seems, I feel like the way things have gone, at roughly, I think midway through 2017 is when I'll have reached all my financial goals. And then I will return to Los Angeles to make films.
Cool.
That's the end.
So your goal is make a bit more scratch, and then hopefully sometime mid 2017 head back to work on what you've been trying to work on for a while now.
Yeah, and give my full attention to it. So Blackjack, has gotten me debt free and allows me to give full focus to the dreams that I want to pursue.
So just to clarify, card counting.
Card counting. Card counting.
For those that just started tuning in, we don't mean any and all blackjack.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Cool. Got that clear. Awesome.
Yeah, it's great. And I'm so appreciative of Colin's program and the boot camp that I got trained through, and also the community that I stayed in touch with. JC, when he went on to join another team, but he still stayed in touch with me. And since he was playing on another team, he couldn't play with me because that was a conflict of interest. However, he could invest in me, and it was always great to have him along as a team member, because midway through the year of 2016, I hit a dry patch where basically I think there was a 2-month period where I only made like $1,000. Uh-huh. Which is weird to say amidst so much that I'd won.
Sure. But it's like, what have you done for me lately?
Yeah, and you know what? And we're all human beings.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like we need to play like androids, even though we're not androids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like you type stuff into CVCX and the computer plops that out, and you're like, oh, that's great, but it doesn't say anything about the emotions.
Yes.
That you are going to experience on that roller coaster ride along the way. And that's where I would say it's really valuable to have just people that you stay in touch with, because I will say what kept me sane through those 2 months was JC Note.
Cool.
It was really valuable. And I met him through your boot camp. You know what I mean? That's really valuable. And or however you're meeting people, if it's through the forum, just have some people you can talk to that can help coddle your emotions through what is going to be known financial rapids that you will go through when playing blackjack. That's really valuable.
We've talked about this before, but guys on our team, just being in the middle of a trip, let's say someone flew to the East Coast to play for 5 days, and they're like 3 days in, and they're losing and getting backed off, and they'd be like, I think I'm just going to call it good and just hang out in my hotel for the next few days. But they'd call someone else on the team, and that person would be like, dude, you got 2 days left. Why don't you head north to this place and just see what happens? And then, generate more EV. I know one famous story. I think it was loud and often. He like won everything back that he had lost in that last like couple of days, and made himself and the team a bit more money. And it just took that little pep talk, or that just someone that, you know, is like, dude, I know your pain. Stick with it. It'll turn around, or whatever. It can be really valuable.
Because, and I want to be clear about this. Like you and I are both like 6-figure winners.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what's weird is we talked about this earlier. There's still the moment in time to this day where you will think like, maybe I got lucky.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I was saying like, I've won over $600,000 playing. Like I've averaged over $300 an hour for my career, but I've had losing streaks where like late in my career where I'm like, does this still work?
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just, yeah, we're not robots, but just, you know, someone to remind. It really helped me. I read Burning the Tables in Las Vegas by Ian Anderson when I was first playing, and he talked about going through a losing streak and having a friend test him out and just verifying he was doing everything right. And because he was questioning, even though he'd made, you know, a living at it for a number of years, it was like, what is going on? And he verified it, and he kept playing, and it turned around. So it was helpful for me to read that so early. So for those of you guys early or still learning, or early into your card can careers, you're going to experience some losing streaks that you might not be prepared for emotionally, and having someone to you know, talk you off the cliff with that, so you don't start playing stupid or give up or overbet or underbet or whatever.
Yeah, you know what's weird is I've even heard you talk to Richard Munchkin, who apparently I'm going to follow suit after as a card counter and
/ movie producer.
Yeah. But hey, I'll take it. It's awesome. It's what I love to do. But you feel like you got lucky in your early stages.
Yeah.
And what's weird is so do I.
Yeah.
After I've just described the things that happen, I would hate to see someone make a mistake and get unlucky. Like make the mistakes that we made, and then not have what could be financial the freedom that we have.
Well, that's I think Joe748. I think he lost his first.
Oh, that's right.
Bankroll, and then whatever, some chunk of it.
He did $10,000, I think.
I think it was like he lost $5,000.
Oh yeah, $5,000.
He had another $5,000, and he stuck with it. And
yeah,
I'm glad he stuck with it.
Man,
I'm sure he's glad he stuck with it. But you know, obviously he had his skills in check, so it was all worth it. But
I honestly don't know.
I'm sure if I would have lost my first $2,000, I would have never. You know, how would I have convinced my wife to like take more of our saving? You know,
yeah.
So,
no, honey, it's worth it.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would have done if I'd have lost that $5,000.
Yeah.
There's like a little bit of a little bit of luck there, like protecting that situation.
Yeah.
And so, forgive me. Forgive me. Correct me if we've talked about this already. But when I returned to LA, there was this. Oh, that's right. It was the last thing we talked about. Where there was like when I returned to LA, there was the moment of.
Oh yeah.
Of like buying.
Yeah, buy a new desk and
feeling the need to buy.
So, well, what are some other, some of the other lessons you feel like you've learned from just the crazy ride of card counting and the money pouring in, or being around that kind of money?
It you know what it does. Okay, so there is something kind of a topic of money and emotions.
Yeah.
There's some really good documentaries out there. One that I watched when I was in LA right before I left residency there. This one called Happy.
I know that one.
Okay,
yeah,
dude, super good one.
I've met that guy that made it. Yeah.
Yeah, which. Well, anyway, yeah, it's great documentary. There's a segment in there where they talk about how money, the amount of money that you have. I'll just explain it the way they explain it. Like if you're a bum,
yeah,
and someone hands you some money and puts a coat on your back and a roof over your head, that affects you immensely.
Yeah,
like has a huge effect on you. On your whole universe. So money does affect you. Yeah. Like if you're in a low income bracket.
Yes.
But if you're in a higher income bracket, what happens is you acclimate to whatever money you have.
Yeah.
So, so now it's like I'm used to having, lots of money. It just basically, if you become a multimillionaire, you get used to what it's like having millions of dollars, and it doesn't afford you any more happiness.
Yes. I heard that somewhere it's like around $70,000 a year, that if someone is making less than $70,000 a year, more money contributes, is really helpful. But somewhere around there isn't like measurable increased levels of happiness.
Yeah.
And the problem is, if you make, let's say you make 40 grand, you probably live around neighbors that also make in that similar, it's going to be like you can afford to live with people that make about that, and you want to get more. And then you make 70 grand and you live around neighbors that make 70 grand. And if you're making $1 million, you live around neighbors that make $1 million. And you never feel like, it'd be one thing if you're making $1 million living next to neighbors that make 40 grand. And you'd be like, oh my gosh, I have more than I could ever need. If your neighbors have a new car or have a bigger house or whatever, it's always like I could use a little more, or I could get to that next level. But, with that next level, what's it really going to do for you?
Yeah, it's emotion. It's diminishing returns.
Yes.
In terms of, so it's not like you're giving money to a homeless person.
Yeah.
Like you're just getting more money, and it's not adding happiness to you. Whereas like money to someone that up until that 70,000, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And it's called the hedonic treadmill. You just adjust, and that's something that's been really valuable. However, I will be honest. Money does affect your emotions temporarily.
Yeah.
Amidst contextually with what I'm talking about for card counting and what we're doing. When you're in a casino and you see someone hit a jackpot, I've seen some weird behavior. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like this one lady, she hit a slot machine jackpot, and I actually don't even. Here's the additional irony: is it could have been for like maybe $1,200 or $1,000, which I hate to sound like a jerk or unsympathetic to people with that, because money's relative. In terms of, to me, basically what I'm saying is like that's not all that much money.
Sure.
And this lady's freaking out to doing gymnastics,
like she's going to retire,
and jumping jacks.
Yeah.
And some people even have like heart attacks and stuff. And so like there is money tied to emotions tied to money temporarily.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But then it's like you just acclimate so quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard stories of people like winning like kind of a lot of money, like a lot of money, like $12,000.
Sure.
And then and for them that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then they'll come in like the next day and lose it all back.
Oh yeah.
And then it's just like, oh well, it's almost like money loses its value in casinos,
absolutely,
or it becomes
it's relative. It's like I picture a lot of gamblers, they're comfortable betting or losing or playing with a certain amount of cash in casinos that they might then go across the street to get some food, and they wouldn't be like, $500 hamburger, no big deal, but they just lost $500 at the pie gow table. It's like they compartmentalize it differently. And, going back to this idea of like, it could sound like we're saying, everyone should not have money, but, with that financial apprenticeship project that died, really the thing that we felt like we had learned with card counting we want to share with people is that money is a tool, like that's all it is. And a tool is only as valuable as what you're using the tool for. And, the example of pickaxe, it's like, I could use a pickaxe, but do you need 100 pickaxes? But if you actually have a purpose for 100 pickaxes, well, that's great. Like if you have somewhere to use this tool or a way to use this tool, to change things, to help people, then the money actually is incredibly valuable. And there's great examples of that. People that use money to valuable goals, whether that's like, loving your neighbor or like, taking care of your family or, helping the disenfranchised. But there can be this thought of, if I just have more of this tool, then I'll be happier. And that's what is not true.
Yeah, that is a trap.
Dude, we're getting deep here.
Yeah, that's a trap, and it is a lie. I guess Jim Carrey, I watched this documentary, Minimalism, on the way back from this Christmas break, where I took my family to go to Universal Studios because I can afford that this year, which is great.
Yeah.
But watching Minimalism, I guess Jim Carrey has a quote where he says, "I wish everyone could get rich and famous, because then they would know that it's not the answer."
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Like you're right. It's just a tool, and it's something I want to cover. Like, if you guys, no matter where you're at in your blackjack careers, it's always, for me, what's always kind of fun and exciting is to hear what people's plans are to do with the money.
Yeah.
And for JC Note, I know he's going into real estate, doing some real estate.
Well, that was his goal before Blackjack.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had a plan, and Blackjack has been a great... And that was the thing, even running our team. Some players joined our team with a clear plan, and it was a great resource, springboard, whatever. Like, they could make way more money from card counting than they could have, with their other options, and could get where they want to go. Other people, it was like they had no plan, and they played some blackjack, they counted some cards, and then they went back, which is fine. But I felt like the people I was more excited about were they used it to get from point A to point B.
Yeah, used it as a tool.
Yeah.
For whatever that dream is.
So
it's really valuable, because I like, if you're at this place, it's like when you hear dealers hustle for tips, I almost want to ask them, like, so what are you going to do with this money when I give it to you? And whatever figure I'm going to give them is probably going to be really small. But like, if I just skip that, I think, like, well, I want to ask them, what are you going to do if you win $1 million of the lottery?
Yeah.
Like, let's hear that story. And you'll probably hear the most disgusting use of money ever. Where it's like, I'd get 5 RVs, you know what I mean? Or just like whatever. What's really exciting is, like, when people have plans for what they want to do with the money. 'Cause for me, like, card counting, I don't want to do it for forever.
Yeah.
It's just a means to an end.
Yeah.
And it has totally worked out, and it's been really helpful. I'm so grateful that I stumbled into it based off of the sequence of events that I told you. Because, like, I honestly don't know how I would have gotten out from under this college loan burden. I mean, I'd really have to buckle down and get good with my finances. Yeah. But this year, it's like hitting the hyperspace button and spending more time doing what I want to do with this life. Yeah. Because I know I've only got so much time here on Earth, you know what I mean? And really get in there and make some films and honestly, like, make some mistakes. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, because there is, I guess some guy wrote a book called 10,000 Hours. And when you do 10,000 hours of whatever, this is the philosophy of the book. Yeah. Whenever you do 10,000 hours of something, you're a professional at it. I don't feel like I've done 10,000 hours worth of filmmaking. Yeah. But I have, like, done visual effects and motion graphics. But I want to be in that category. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I want to focus on that. And blackjack, or card counting, has, like, led the way for that, and super grateful for that.
That's awesome. So before we wrap it up, we definitely have a little more time here, but for those that are not trying to figure out what they're doing with all the money they've made from card counting, for those who are more thinking about, I want, the next exciting story to be mastering this skill and seeing what I can do with it, having some good stories to tell, and, making some money. What would be some of your advice for someone that's really interested in becoming what I would say, like a pro, or at least a semi-pro card counter? Not to me, there's category. There's people that gamble, and card counting helps them to no longer be a losing gambler, you
Mm-hmm.
know. But there's another category, which is like what I pursued, what you've pursued, which is like doing this for a source of income. What would be your advice to that person?
Man, I guess you know what's so weird is because we've covered basically all of my mistakes. I shared every mistake I've made along the way, basically between my first boot camp and second boot camp in the last podcast. And Joe 748 blew out his first bankroll. You realize you got lucky. I realize I got lucky. I guess the bottom line is stick with it, or at least it is. But
what about before they head to the casino?
I would hate okay. It would just to be well practiced.
Okay. What does that mean?
It would be to know the Trinity, which is like to know the.
That's good. I hadn't heard that.
To know the basic strategy chart, your bet spread. Oh, I'm sorry. The maintaining the count, and then deviations.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So perfect basic strategy, perfect counting, which results in perfect betting.
Yeah.
And deviations. Like to be able to do that flawlessly at home.
And the other advice, just to kind of like throw it all together. We've said it all, but I'll just.
Dude, you can't say it too many times.
Okay, recoup is like, get a community. At least have one other person that you know that what they're. In fact, I would encourage, if you know someone that has made six figures doing it, that's a good sign. I would latch onto that person and communicate with them, but be in the community to have someone couch your expectations and to give you advice. The other thing I'll say this is what's interesting among even people that have made six figures is there's even still things that people would do a little differently.
Sure.
You know what I mean? But it's like both players are winning players, but still disagree on said idea, which is very interesting.
Like, give an example.
Like
it's not going to be basic strategy or betting or counting or maybe betting.
Well, when we I'll put it this way. I don't know if you've heard this, but Richard Munchkin had a quote in one of his
Gambling with an Edge
podcasts. He goes, "Round up on your bets,
okay,
and round down on your deviations."
Oh, okay, interesting.
For like the true count,
And
for me, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But like for JC Note, he was like, I don't.
Well, yeah, rounding up in your bets, it's just going to increase your EV slightly, but it's also going to increase your variance and your risk because you're going to be slightly overbetting at times. And that is it's kind of a personal. And we're getting a little bit into the weeds. Like this is stuff we pros like to argue about. But you know, the bottom line is, it kind of is personal preference. If you want a little bit lower EV, a little bit lower risk, or if you want a little bit higher EV, a little bit higher risk.
That's right.
But the basics, everyone would agree on.
Right? Yeah. You're right. The basics, everyone would
Trinity.
The Trinity.
Basic strategy.
Everyone agrees on the Trinity.
Counting and deviations. And deviations, you know, deviations can mean betting or playing. So
yeah, because kind of like what you're talking about is the basically the two winning philosophies are maximizing and optimizing.
Okay.
Both of those are winning philosophies.
Well, for those that don't know what we mean by that, explain a maximizer and explain an optimizer. So this goes, again, back to Ian Anderson's book. That's where I first heard it, Ian Anderson's book, Bring the Tables in Las Vegas. But explain it to people.
A maximizer is a person that wants to bet with no cover. Absolutely zero cover.
Get as much money out of the casino as quickly as possible.
As quickly as possible based on your the bank that you have, the weapons and tools that you have. Extract the most money as possible and not care about how obvious it could look.
Sure.
And then an optimizer is someone that is more interested in siphoning money out of a casino and trying to make it look like that is not happening as much as possible, pending that you're comfortable with as much money as you are extracting.
So I think the easiest illustration, it's the whole, you can shear a sheep many times. You can only skin him once. But the problem with shearing a sheep might be the optimizer. Like, well, I'm not gonna rub it in their faces, is what Tommy Highland says. Like, then again, I'd still say he's a maximizer. But I'm not going to be too egregious because I want to last at this casino a bit longer. But the problem is, it sucks when you're costing yourself EV. Like, you're not getting the maximum amount of profits out every hour as you could, with the thought of it's going to get you more hours. But it sucks when you still get backed off and you knew you left money on the table.
Yeah. Like
I remember the only time I did Ian Anderson's Ultimate Gambit, which is like an entire slew of both playing deviation, like improper playing decisions that don't cost you all that much EV, combined with this elaborate bet strategy to cover betting. You only raise your bet if you won the previous hand. You only lower your bet if you lost the previous hand. You're doing this with counting, so you are raising it as the count goes up, but you're not raising it in the right, according to your true count. Anyway, it's this elaborate thing Ian Anderson wrote about, and I'm like, I'm going to do this. I won about 20 grand in half an hour, got backed off. And the thought was, I probably, what if I would have won 22 grand? Or even what if I would have won 20 grand, $500, Like, I don't know how much EV I left on the table because I didn't play properly, and I still was going to get backed off either way. And I never did the Ultimate Gambit again because I'm like, I got backed off because I was 22 years old playing the high limits rooms in Vegas, winning tens of thousands of dollars. It wasn't because I, hit a soft 18 against a 9. Anyway, whatever. That's kind of personal preference. That gets into the weeds. But let's talk for someone that's still learning. So you're saying they got to get these things down at home. What about when they first start going to a casino?
Track your records.
Track your records. Okay.
It would keep track of everything.
Avoid negative running counts.
Yeah, avoid negative running counts.
You really got to be aware of the rules of the game.
Yeah, if you be aware of the rules of the game, because what's interesting is you can because sometimes I'll go in and I'll just have what I'll call a sort of a safe bet spread.
Sure. Where
it's like, I know that when I bet this,
it's not going to be too risky.
I'm not taking too risk, even though my spread isn't aggressive because I don't even know how aggressive I can be.
Sure.
So I'll just do the safe bet spread and then go back later.
Yeah.
And as long as you remember the rules to the game, you can type that stuff into CVCX.
Sure.
Calculate how much you've made, and then you can see, oh, well, that's what it was worth. And then maybe you can be like, why did I play that for 3 hours if I was only making this much money?
Yeah.
Or whatever. I mean,
there's really, I'll say there are 4 ways that you guys at home can figure out this stuff. One is, if you're just really early and you don't want to get too fancy, just pick a bet spread like a 1 to 10 bet spread, and you should be fine. You're playing a winning game if you're playing perfectly and you're avoiding those really negative counts. The second way would be if you have a membership to Blackjack Apprenticeship. We have this bankroll management web app, and it's pretty simple, but it'll just give you some different options. There's maybe like 6 or 8 different bet spread options. And you can compare and really figure out with your bankroll size, risk tolerance, how much EV you can make. The third option is bankroll coaching. We offer that through Blackjack Apprenticeship. And then the fourth, that if you're really a professional, you should get CVCX or something comparable. There are a few options, but CVCX is kind of like industry standard. Challenges is it only works on a PC, and it's a little bit of a learning curve to figure out. So I don't want to stress people out there. A lot of people doing bankroll coaching with me or something like that, you're going to be fine. But for those of us that are doing this full time and we want to really fine tune everything we're doing, you get a little fancier with CVCX or something like that.
Yeah, and like something that I don't know if I said this already, but I'll just make it clear. Like in the spreadsheet, if you listen to the last podcast, the spreadsheet that JC Note put together for us, we track the AV, which anybody can track.
Yeah.
your winnings and,
Yep.
and losses. But we also track the EV, and it's maybe not super precise, but it's enough. Basically we just type in what CVCX says, and as far as I'm concerned, that doesn't lie.
Yeah.
And that has tracking the EV with the AV has been really valuable in terms of helping me emotionally, like helping my emotions. Because there was a time period through the year where there was 3 days in a row that I lost $4,000 a day.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't matter who you are, that's going to bug you.
Sure.
And you're going to start to question things. In fact, I think I went to this casino where this lady was like, yeah, you're not very good. Like, she knew, I was a counter, and she's like, yeah, you're not very good. And, like, let me return to that. But after 3 days of losing $4,000, which I think one of those sessions was at her place, I realized
you're still above.
We're still above EV.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's really helpful to just look back and even if you're below EV,
right,
until you've played a couple hundred hours at least, it's all the short run. You need to get to the long run to really. So, I tell people have a perfect game and keep playing.
Right. And my thought is that in the end, after tons of time, probably what's going to happen is your EV will be there, and then the AV will probably be like right under it.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be like mistakes that you make, and sometimes a mistake that a dealer makes. Sure. Like I've had them pull insurance on, like that's the number one. Yeah. It's like where they say that they checked for insurance. Yeah. And you're like, no, I was communicating, like it was time for you to bet it, and you would have got it because you
didn't. They flipped a blackjack when you hadn't had an opportunity to buy insurance.
Like they did it so quick, and I had every intention of doing it.
Yeah, and I've argued for that at the table where I say, I was trying to buy insurance, and even had the other player say, yep, he was trying to, and was able to get my money back, but then you got to fight with the pit boss and all that stuff. Fight.
And sometimes the pit bosses are so rowdy that they'd be like, nope.
So
sorry.
here's a pro tip, guys. Insurance is the only playing decision that you don't have to make a hand signal for. Every other playing decision you have to wave off or hit the table to take a card or split your finger or whatever. Insurance, you don't make a hand signal. So the cameras cannot verify if you wanted to buy insurance. So you really, what I train people to do, I do this at every boot camp. I train people, if it's an insurance situation and it's any sort of positive true count, to just put your hand out and say, hold on a second, let me think about it. If you just put your hand out and say, let me think about it right away, then the deal, at least the cameras see you put your hand out saying like, hold on, and hopefully the dealer, if you do it quick enough, the dealer will stop for you, and then you can, do your rank divisor true, see if you're above a true 3 and, buy insurance or whatever. But that's a very common one. Anyway, your point is that, you're going to be near EV, but you might be a little bit below it because we're not computers.
Yeah, because we're not computers.
And I'm okay with that.
And that should, and I was too, that seems like reality.
Yeah.
What's interesting is, just kind of change gears here a little bit. Speaking of, pit bosses and such, there comes the time where backoffs happen. And kind of in this transitional phase where I'm transitioning to mid 2017 being a filmmaker, I'm doing these little documentary segments on card counting experiences where it's like, we've talked about money and emotions. I want to do a little segment on that. Also, a little segment on risk and how taking risks is really valuable. But calculated risks. Because there's a difference between just blind, stupid risk and then calculated risks. I really feel like the best lives lived are the ones that involve risk. And, I can just say this about card counting. It's like I took a risk.
Sure.
Because all the information was there that it should work out,
Yeah.
But, you don't know if it's going to work out. And then that risk has totally paid off big time, which is awesome.
So I did a talk a little while ago at a conference, and to try to explain EV to people, I use the example of buying a lottery ticket. That if you buy a $1 lottery ticket, you're expected to lose 92 cents. But nobody buys a lottery ticket thinking about giving away 92 cents of that dollar, right? So they're taking a risk for that hope that is, 92% against them, that hope that they're going to strike a risk. So that's, you're saying, well, a calculated risk. Well, lottery ticket, dumb risk, terrible EV. But even positive EV things like, like blackjack, card counting, even like index fund. If you just buy an index fund, which is like the top 20 or 25 stocks, something like that, historically it's like a 7% return, but it's still a risk,
Yeah, that's right.
It's not guaranteed you're going to get your 7% the next day or next week or month or even year, but it's a calculated risk.
Yeah, it is, man. It's so that's sort of a phase that I am in now, because one of my goals this year in 2016 was to build the 6-figure bankroll.
Yeah,
and it's like, got it,
mm-hmm.
But now I'm like, well, now that money's just going to be sitting there.
Yeah. How can your money be working for you while you're making films?
How can my money be working for me?
Yeah.
And it seems like, you have probably thought about this way more than I have, but what I feel like I have heard is the 3 best options are basically real estate, stocks, and then other advantage players.
Oh, yeah. Well, so, this can be a problem where we get a little spoiled.
Okay.
Because card counting, you can exponentially grow your investment, right? I mean, I started with $2,000 and within a year I had like 60, and then probably doubled it again the next year. And, I didn't continue to grow it at that rate, 30,000% or whatever. But I remember a few years into card counting, and I, maybe I had $100,000, and I'm thinking well, this is nice. How do I continue this passively? Well, passive investments are, like the stock market. Hopefully, long term, it's going to be about 7%. Well, if you need $70,000 a year to live off of, you need to have $1 million to put in the stock market. And same with real estate. Maybe you can get somewhere between 5 and 10%. Cap rate is what they call it. Well, you're going to need, probably $1 million, $2 million worth of real estate to just, well, card counting, it's a more active investment, but you can really grow that thing. So it's tough. It's a tough transition, I guess. And that's where, as you were talking earlier about, well, you've got $100,000 bankroll set aside. I put it more in the category, I call card counting a trade. If you've got your brains in your bankroll, mm-hmm. you can pick up that trade at any point, right?
Yeah, that's right. And that's sort of my thought.
Yeah.
If, forgive me if I cut you off.
No.
Because my thought is I'll go to, and I will have money built up for me to make films off of and live off of for a certain period of time.
Yeah.
In hopes that I can continue, get paid to do that as a craft.
Yep. And
make a living off that. The reality is there's this safety net now.
Yeah.
This safety net known as card counting.
Yeah, man. If some people ask me why don't you still play? And I think what they're saying is, if I could do what you've been able to do, I would keep doing it. But the reality is, I played for thousands of hours, and it doesn't really fit my primary goals right now. But I love the fact that I still have it in my back pocket as a trade. And I'll play a little bit here and there, but it's not really a season, I got young kids or I want to be gallivanting too much, but I don't consider myself retired. I've got this trade and I've got the money for a bankroll, that I can still invest in card counting at casinos. So that I hope that works out well for you. Hopefully you won't need to count cards anymore.
That's the hope. That, believe it or not, guys, That's the hope. My hope is to never return to this. However, I'm so grateful just at this point that just getting out from under that nasty college loan, and building up like a nice chunk of equity. It's just being debt free, feeling like a responsible human being. Because it's weird because I worked on ads that were like stupid ads for like, okay, let me make this ad so I can try to poison someone's mind with the idea that they need to buy this thing that is totally unnecessary.
Yeah.
I mean, Dyson makes a good vacuum cleaner, but is it really? Do you have to really pay? Like, is it like? Am I going to go to bed sleeping, thinking like, "Wow, I'm glad I have that Dyson."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, is it or just like, I don't know. It's just weird. You know what I mean?
But it wasn't why you got into filmmaking.
Yeah.
Right.
It wasn't, and it's just so weird. Like, it's just like. It's I don't know. I forget. I had a train of thought and I forgot.
Okay. Anyway, you hopefully won't need to, but you've got a great trade.
Yeah, I do.
And I've known quite a few card counters that take a break, do something else for a while, and then get back into it.
Yeah.
And because they have the skills, they can pick it up, put it down.
Yeah.
I mean, the way I think about it is. I probably wouldn't put a six-figure bankroll into it unless I knew I was going to play at least, probably 100, 200 hours because you got to get to the long run. But if I could put 100, 200 hours towards it, it's one of the best money-making activities I still know of.
Because I was at your boot camps and kind of meeting some people. I was like, man, it's like there's some people I can invest in.
Oh yeah.
And there was a couple guys.
You gotta be careful. I'm gonna start getting emails from people around the world saying like, have the Phoenix send me his bankroll.
Yeah. Well, to clarify, I'm not investing in anybody. But what was interesting is I did meet a couple guys that I was thinking about it. But when I talked to them, I was like, I thought about it and I was like, man, all I would be doing is siphoning their money that they could be making. And like, it was weird. It's almost like this guilty feeling came over me.
It's because Yoda Joe 748 did that. He could have just handed you a bankroll and made money off of you, but he knew you had it in you.
So all of you thinking of trying to acquire my money, just hear it from me and from Yoda now that I am also have joined the ranks of being a Jedi. You can do it yourself.
Yeah, put in the training. Dude, seriously, the biggest hurdle, I'll say this after I've been a card counter for, I'm going on, next year it's going to be 15 years. It's been 14 years I've been a card counter. I've played, I've run teams, I've trained hundreds of people. The biggest hurdle is getting a perfect game. And it's not insurmountable, it's that people don't put in the practice. They want to start hitting the casinos before they're perfect. And it's a huge mistake. Get your game to perfect and then put the hours in at the tables and your bankroll will grow. It's really that simple. Have good bankroll management, have a perfect game, your bankroll will grow.
Yeah, and I really questioned, because again, even just from a 10-year difference, I was like, is this going to work? And then now it's a reality. It's totally a reality. Yeah. It works, guys, in 2016 and in 2017. There's probably maybe just a couple other things I want to talk about.
Yeah.
You had Tommy Highland at one of your boot camps. Uh-huh. And what's weird is I wanted to question the most questions I had for him was about the experiment that they had run in the 70s. Yeah. Because I guess what had happened is prior to 1978, when they opened Atlantic City in New Jersey, there was only Vegas, at least in America. There was only Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And they were, they had their huge resistance against card counting at that time. But in 78 in Atlantic City, they were like, well, are these guys a threat? Let's run an experiment. So for 3 weeks. It's either 2 or 3 weeks. They just opened up the tables and just let card counters come in. And then here's what I didn't think of when I'd heard him talk about it previously in a podcast was not only did everybody come over from Vegas to Atlantic City.
Card counters
come over from Vegas and jam up those tables, but also everybody from all over the world.
Yeah.
I guess there was a Czech
team,
Czechoslovakian team that came over. And in fact, they had jammed up, there's only 2 casinos at the time, they jammed up all the tables so bad that even regular customers couldn't get in to where the casino could make the money off of them.
Yeah, because during the experiment, they had to let the players play, but the other thing is they had early surrender, which has not existed for like 30 years, but it did exist at that time. And I don't know if the casinos knew it, but the players had an edge off the top. Meaning, what that means is the players had the advantage at a true zero. Like beginning of the shoe, they had the advantage. And that's sort of like you're always betting like you have a true 2 or, something like that.
Yeah.
Huge profits. And so they're just sitting there raking in the money. But I guess they were being pretty egregious with it too. They were really flaunting it in the casino's faces.
Counting out loud and saying, over here, this table.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is when I was inquiring about that, I was kind of like inquiring for myself because I was like, okay, man, card counting, if those guys messed it up for all of us.
Yeah.
Like by flaunting it that way and jamming up all the tables and like, I guess even the regular players would adjust their bets higher.
They would just see these guys raking in the money, raising their bets, so then the players would raise their bets too.
It's kind of like, oh, is everybody getting naked now? I'll get naked too. Just kind of like this weird, like, sort of ecosystem that they'd created at those 2 casinos. But the reason why I was inquiring is because I almost wanted to like blame them for why the Blackjack landscape is the way it is now in terms of backoffs.
Sure.
Because like right now, if every casino in America were to open up their tables and be like, all right, any card counter can come in, it would not hurt the casinos. But I thought about it and I was like, okay, instead of me thinking that people in the 1970s needed to readjust how they played, I realized I was selfishly wishing that my job was easier and that I wouldn't get backed off. And so because like for me, when I get backed off, that one back off that I told you about in the last podcast was great, but there is a tendency for me to get very nasty, and it is exposure of something that I need to work on in my character. And so when I was inquiring that, I was like, basically kind of what I was asking is like, hey, can the world change so my life is easy and I don't have to change?
Yeah.
But like looking back on this year, me having made so much money, and sure, maybe there was like a rude back off here and there. Like I realized like, okay, I need to challenge myself to be a better person. To take
get backed off gracefully.
Yeah, get gracefully backed off and not have an attitude.
Yeah,
because me having an attitude isn't going to do anything for.
Well, it's not going to do anything positive.
It's not going to do anything. Yeah, you're right. In fact, if I'm a jerk, it probably reaps negative effects.
Yeah,
for other card counters.
Yeah, and that's one of my concerns is that there is this like I hate you, you hate me mentality, and someone's got to break, and there are the pit bosses that back you off really nicely, and it's so wonderful. But if there are the pit bosses or floor managers that are jerks about it, and there's also the card counters that are jerks about it, and if we could say, hey, you know what, they're doing their job, and if we treat them with respect, perhaps they might start treating us a little bit more with respect. Maybe not, but at least, maybe if we kill them with kindness, it'll pay off.
Yeah, man. And like, it's interesting. It's tougher if you're younger, if you're early on, because I think in my time with Sub-Zero, who was clearly a younger guy, because I'm in my late 30s now, and he was I mean, when I met him, he was 18, and then now he just turned 21, had braces and everything. But like at the same casino that we would be playing at and counting cards at, he would be. They'd back him off like instantaneously, largely just because everybody in the universe had to screen him anyway for ID.
Yeah.
But I feel like I sensed that people were jealous of a young man that was ambitious.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks. I mean, I was 22 when I started playing.
Yeah.
And I played most heavily from 22 to 26 years old. And I looked 5 years younger than I was.
Okay.
And yeah, there probably was all that. I still feel like I'm so thankful. Like I got so many hours in at so many casinos. And yeah, if I would have been 20, 30 years older, I probably would have lasted longer. But I still got lots of hours in. And yeah, I had to show ID constantly. But I don't regret it. I don't regret doing it. And I felt like if I carried myself like I deserved to be there and deserved to have the kind of money I was throwing around, that people seem to, treat me okay. It does suck. That I remember at one point thinking maybe I should put this on hold for 20 years and then get back into card counting when I'm in my mid 40s. I thought about that for about 10 seconds. I was like, screw it. I'm going to just go for it now. And I'm glad that I did, like it's changed the direction of my life significantly.
Yeah. And there's a little bit of me like that wonders like, why didn't I know about this sooner?
Yeah.
But whatever, I'm still grateful and I'm still.
So how do you deal with backoffs now?
Now it's like I just do my best to be okay with it.
Yeah.
Like, I try to. You know what really helps me is shaking their hand, trying to make the effort to shake. Some of them don't even.
That's cool.
Don't even like to have their hand.
Even like physical contact. It seems like it breaks maybe this barrier of. I feel like to shake someone's hand, you have to kind of let your guard down a little bit.
Yeah, kind of a sense of like, hey, I understand what's going on. I respect you.
Yeah.
Hopefully you respect me.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. And I have had some good backoffs where I've like behaved great.
Yeah.
And then I've had others where I've behaved very poorly.
Uh-huh.
What's interesting is like, it's almost like what I feel like I can handle like maybe a backoff a day. Or go and handle it well.
Yeah.
Once I get to a day where it's like the third back off in a day, that third back off is usually pretty nasty, no matter how nice they are. And so it's like me, I guess, kind of like knowing my limits.
Yeah.
And it's the hardest part for me, but I'm really trying to flex my muscle and just be okay with, like, especially being able to like, because honestly, I don't even care if they're backing me off when I'm winning or losing.
Yeah.
Like winning helps a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do this forever anyway.
Yeah. But it's still just hard. The rejection and they're making your life miserable. But
because you know what it is? I think what I've discovered about me is in my head, I try to say that it's unjust. But in my heart, I feel unwanted. And that is you know what I'm saying?
Totally.
And that emotional feeling reaps this behavioral reaction out of me that I feel like, okay, I need to work on this.
Yeah.
So I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
Is basically,
yeah.
I don't want to make it sound like I'm a success story in how I react on backoffs because I'm a loose cannon.
It's cool that it's provided, maybe like a shed light in an area that you might otherwise not have had light shed on, like a character area of improvement is what we called it when I worked at Red Robin. An area of improvement that handling being made to feel like you're not wanted.
Yeah, and if I feel like probably one of the best things to do is try to shake their hand, and then the other thing, if it's bad, no matter that, or if they don't want to shake your hand, is definitely that's when you like. For me, I'd want to call a buddy.
Oh yeah,
like call a fellow card counter and be like, can you believe what this person
just get it off your chest.
Yeah, and then hopefully they can coddle your emotions.
Yes, yeah, Right on. Well, any final things you want to share with people before we hop off here?
I think we've done really good. Just follow your dreams, guys, and use money as a tool.
That's right. Use money as a tool. Follow your dreams and gamble responsibly. Memorize the trinity of card counting. Awesome. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk with us and share a bit of your story. And I'll try to link to some of the resources we talked about, Burning Tables in Las Vegas and Happy, the documentary Happy.
Yeah, Happy, I Am, and Minimalism.
Yeah, we'll try to link to those and check out. If you're learning, obviously, I feel like Blackjack Apprenticeship is the best resource for you. It helped the Phoenix and a lot of other people become successful card counters. If you want hands-on training, we do boot camps 4 times a year. Roughly in Las Vegas, hands-on training with me. The Phoenix has been at the last couple. Joe 748's been at the last few. JC Note and sometimes guest speakers like Tommy Highland or other pros, legendary Tommy Highland. And if not, hopefully you've enjoyed this and learned some things from it. And we will catch you later.